Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever stood face to face with someone so aggressive, so loud, so disrespectful that every part of you wanted to fight back? What if I told you that you could make that same person regret their words, not by shouting, not by arguing, but by using nothing more than the power of your voice and your calm? Today I'm going to show you 6 verbal strategies that turn hostility into humility, conflict into respect, and leave even the most aggressive person thinking twice before ever coming at you again. Ladies and gentlemen, when a person rises against you with aggression, anger, or hostility, your first reaction is often to fight back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But you must understand this: power is not proven by shouting louder, and strength is not measured by how fast you react. True power is the ability to remain calm when everyone expects you to explode. The secret is not in fighting fire with fire, but in using wisdom like water to quench the flames without losing your dignity. If you want to make an aggressive person regret their words, you do not stoop to their level. You rise above them. The first thing you must master is the art of silence. Silence is not weakness. It is a weapon that disarms. Most aggressive people feed on reaction. They thrive on seeing you lose control. When you do not react, you starve their ego. Your silence is like a mirror. It reflects their behavior back to them until they begin to feel the weight of their own words. When you are quiet, you force them to hear themselves. You turn the conversation into a moment of self-awareness. The loudest voice in the room is not always the strongest. Sometimes the quietest presence has the most power. The second tool is controlled language. Use calm, measured words that lower the emotional temperature. When an angry person raises their voice, lower yours. Speak slowly, deliberately, and respectfully. This confuses their aggression because it has nowhere to go. They are expecting a fight, and when you refuse to give them one, they are left to wrestle with their own conscience. A calm response is like a soft answer that turns away wrath. It takes courage to stay composed when you are under verbal attack, but that composure creates an atmosphere where the other person begins to feel small for losing control. The third verbal trick is to ask powerful, disarming questions. Instead of shouting back, say things like, "What is it that you really need right now?" or "Why do you feel this way?" This turns confrontation into reflection. It forces them to leave the emotional realm and step into a rational one. Questions make people stop and thinking interrupts aggression. You are no longer a target. You have become a guide leading them back to clarity. When a person begins to explain themselves, they often hear how unreasonable they sound. Many times this simple shift causes regret to rise in their hearts. The fourth key is affirmation of dignity. Tell them, "I value what you're saying," or "I understand this is important to you." You are not agreeing with their anger. You are acknowledging their humanity. This lowers their defenses. When people feel heard, they stop shouting. When they feel respected, they stop attacking. Respect is not about surrendering to abuse. It is about showing that you are too wise to let their behavior turn you bitter. By affirming their dignity, you restore their sense of self-control, and very often they begin to feel ashamed for disrespecting yours. The fifth verbal technique is to share perspective instead of accusation. Say things like, "When that happened, I felt," rather than "You always do this," or "You never listen." Aggressive people are quick to resist blame, but they cannot affirm. Go with your perspective. When you speak from your experience, you create space for dialogue instead of war. This helps them see the impact of their words without feeling attacked themselves. Often this shift causes the weight of their behavior to fall on them, not you, and they begin to feel sorry for how they made you feel. The sixth and final tool is the power of gratitude. Thank them for even the smallest sign of calmness or reason. Say, "I appreciate you taking the time to share how you feel," or "Thank you for being honest with me." Gratitude diffuses tension because it speaks to the best in people. It reminds them that they have the capacity to be better. When you thank someone who was just aggressive toward you, it shifts the entire emotional atmosphere. It is hard to stay angry when someone acknowledges you with grace. That gratitude becomes a mirror that reflects their behavior and invites them to rise to a higher standard. When you combine these 6 tools, you turn confrontation into transformation. You no longer let someone's aggression dictate your mood or your peace. Instead, you lead the situation with wisdom. This is how you make an aggressive person sorry without shouting, without threats, and without revenge. You do not just win the argument, you win the person. You leave them with a memory of your strength, not your temper. But hear me clearly, this is not about manipulation, it is about leadership. The greatest leaders are not those who control others, but those who control themselves. Every time you refuse to match aggression with aggression, you are proving that you are bigger than the situation. You are teaching the other person what real strength looks like. You are showing them that you can be provoked but not broken, attacked but not reduced, challenged but not changed into what they are. Aggression is a cry for power, and when you stay calm, you are showing that you already possess the power they are looking for. You cannot stop people from being angry, but you can stop anger from controlling the outcome. You cannot stop them from shouting, but you can stop yourself from shouting back. And that self-control is where victory begins. Remember, an aggressive person may never apologize with words, but they will feel the weight of what they did when they see how you carried yourself. And that silent conviction is far more powerful than any verbal revenge you could deliver. The goal is not to win the moment. The goal is to win the person, to rise above the conflict, and to remain a person of wisdom, even when surrounded by chaos. You must recognize that every aggressive person you meet is dealing with a battle you cannot see. Their aggression is not always about you. It is often a reflection of their pain, their fear, or their frustration. When you learn to see beyond the surface, you develop compassion that strengthens your ability to respond with wisdom instead of retaliation. This is why remaining calm is such a powerful move. It allows you to pause long enough to see what is really happening behind the words. And once you understand that the aggression is more about them than you stop taking it personally and start leading the moment. Silence does not just disarm, it gives you time to think. It allows you to choose your response instead of reacting in the heat of the moment. Many people lose their power because they let the aggressor set the pace. But when you breathe, pause, and hold your tongue, you regain control of the atmosphere. The aggressor begins to sense that you are not easily moved, and that unsettles them. They are expecting you to be triggered. But when you refuse to be triggered, you turn the encounter into a lesson they will never forget. You become the calm center of the storm, and storms eventually run out of rain. And then comes the mastery of your words. You must understand that words can build bridges or burn them. Every time you open your mouth, you are either escalating or de-escalating the situation. Measured language is like oil on troubled waters. It soothes and settles. Sometimes all it takes is a single calm phrase to shift the energy in the room. Say, let's slow down and talk about this, or I'm here to understand you. These are not just phrases. They are keys that open a different emotional door. They let the other person know that you are not an enemy, but a participant in finding resolution. And once they see you as a partner instead of an opponent, they begin to regret the hostility with which they approached you. Questions are one of the most underrated tools of influence. When you ask the right questions, you redirect the conversation. Instead of allowing their emotions to dominate the space, you give them something to think about. An aggressive person expects resistance, not curiosity. They expect you to fight, not to explore. But the moment you say, help me understand why this matters so much to you, you change the dynamic. They now have to explain themselves, and in doing so, they begin to calm down. Reflection slows the pace of conflict. It allows truth to emerge, and truth has a way of humbling anger. Acknowledgement is another powerful weapon. Many times aggression is simply a demand to be seen or heard. When you say, I hear what you are saying, you are validating their existence without agreeing with their behavior. This is an important distinction. Validation is not surrender. It is simply recognizing that they are a human being with feelings, even if those feelings are expressed poorly. And once they feel seen, the volume of their aggression begins to drop. Most people are not used to being treated with dignity when they are angry, and that dignity can often become the very thing that softens them. Perspective sharing is where you invite them to step into your world. You do this gently, not with accusation, but with clarity. You say, when that was said, I felt dismissed. Or, when this happened, I felt unheard. These statements are not weapons, they are windows. They allow the other person to see how their actions affected you. And because you are not attacking them, but revealing your experience, they cannot easily argue with it. Many times it is the first time they are confronted with the impact of their behavior, and that confrontation often leads to remorse. Gratitude is the final touch that seals the transformation. It is counterintuitive, but it is powerful. When you express gratitude in the face of hostility, you are not rewarding their aggression. You are rewarding their humanity. You are reminding them that they are better than the behavior they displayed. Gratitude has a way of melting pride and softening even the hardest heart. It causes the other person to look inward and often leaves them feeling convicted about how they acted. It is not unusual for someone to later approach you and say, I'm sorry for how I spoke to you earlier. That apology is the result of the seed of grace you planted in the heat of the conflict. But understand this, using these tools does not just change the other person, it changes you. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you grow stronger. Every time you choose patience over provocation, you elevate your character. You are shaping the kind of person you are becoming. You are proving to yourself that you can be trusted with influence because you are not ruled by your emotions. And this is why your response to aggression matters so much. It is not just about winning an argument. It is about becoming a person who is unshakable in every situation. There will be moments when your silence will be tested, when every part of you wants to scream back. There will be moments when the questions you ask may not immediately calm the situation, when the respect you show is not immediately reciprocated. Do not be discouraged. This is not about instant results. It is about consistent character. Over time, people will come to respect you, even those who once disrespected you. They will learn that you are a person who cannot be manipulated by anger. They will learn that shouting does not move you, insults do not intimidate you, and aggression does not shape you. This is how true leaders are born. Leaders are forged in moments of tension. They are not revealed when everything is calm and everyone agrees. They are revealed in the moments when others are losing control and they remain steady. Your ability to stay calm under pressure is your greatest advertisement of strength. It communicates to the world that you are bigger than your environment, greater than the noise, and stronger than the attack. When you master this approach, you will notice something powerful happening. The atmosphere around you begins to shift before aggression even starts. People think twice before attacking you because they know you will not give them the reaction they crave. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force. And even those who once opposed you will begin to seek your counsel because they know you carry wisdom. You become a thermostat, not a thermometer. You set the temperature instead of simply reflecting it. This is why I say again, the goal is not revenge but redemption. To make an aggressive person sorry is not to humiliate them, but to lead them to a place where they realize their error and choose a better way. And in the process, you teach them what it means to interact with someone who refuses to be dragged into the mud. You show them that there is a higher way to handle conflict, and by doing so, you elevate both yourself and them. This is where the true work begins, applying these principles in real time, in real places, and with real people. It is one thing to hear these words and not in agreement, but it is another to stand face to face with aggression and choose wisdom over war. You will be tested in your home, in your workplace, in your community, and sometimes even within yourself. Every aggressive encounter becomes an opportunity to practice what you have learned. The question is not whether you will face conflict. The question is how you will respond when it comes. Imagine for a moment that you are in a workplace meeting presenting your ideas and someone rudely interrupts you, dismissing your contribution with a sharp tone. The old you would fire back, defending your point, proving them wrong in front of everyone. But the wiser you takes a breath. You remain calm and say, I appreciate your perspective. Could you clarify what you meant? Suddenly the room feels different. You have turned what could have been a heated exchange into a moment of dialogue. And while everyone expected a verbal battle, they witness a model of self-control. The one who attacked you now has to explain themselves. And in doing so, they hear how disrespectful they sounded. This is how regret is born, not through force, but through reflection. Think of a family setting where emotions are high and tempers flare. Perhaps someone shouts at you in frustration. Instead of shouting back, you lower your voice and say, I can see this matters a lot to you. Let's slow down so I can fully hear you. This simple sentence can completely disarm anger. It communicates that you are not an opponent, but an ally. The tone of the room begins to change. Aggression cannot thrive where there is an invitation for understanding. Your words become the thermostat, slowly turning down the heat until calmness takes over. Even in public places, these principles work. Someone cuts you off in traffic, yells at you in a store, or speaks harshly to you in a moment of impatience. You have a choice to escalate the situation or to end the cycle. You may never see that person again, but your reaction can either add more anger to the world or introduce a moment of grace that lingers with them long after. There are countless stories of people who were ready for a fight until someone responded with unexpected kindness. That single moment became a turning point in their day and sometimes even in their life. You must remember that aggression is often a mask for pain. People lash out when they feel unheard, unseen, or powerless. When you respond with wisdom, you are not just handling their words, you are ministering to their soul. You are showing them that there is another way to communicate, another way to process frustration. And whether they admit it in the moment or not, they will walk away thinking about the way you handled yourself. They will compare it to how they handled themselves, and in that comparison, a seed of change is planted. Every time you choose to stay calm, you are building a habit. At first, it may feel difficult, almost unnatural, because everything in you wants to react. But with practice, you begin to notice that you can remain centered even in the middle of chaos. You discover that your words have power not only to defend yourself, but to transform the atmosphere. And once you taste that kind of power, the power to bring peace instead of war, you will never want to go back to being reactive again. There is also great wisdom in knowing when to walk away. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. If a person refuses to listen, if they are consumed by anger, if they are not ready for dialogue, then removing yourself is not cowardice. It is wisdom. Walking away does not mean you are weak. It means you value your peace. It means you know when a conversation has reached its limit and when continuing will only create more damage. When you walk away with dignity, you leave the aggressor with their an echo, and that echo will speak louder than any words you could have said. This practice also shapes your influence over time. People begin to notice that you are different. They see that you do not respond like everyone else. They see that you are not easily provoked, not quick to anger, not quick to retaliate. And whether they say it aloud or not, they begin to respect you. They begin to trust your presence because you bring stability where others bring drama. Even those who once opposed you will begin to seek your guidance because deep down, everyone is drawn to someone who carries peace. You must be intentional with your inner life if you are to master your outer reactions. A calm response begins long before the confrontation. It is the result of a disciplined mind, a heart that is centered, a spirit that is grounded. If you live in constant inner turmoil, you will not be able to stand strong when outer turmoil comes. This is why it is essential to practice moments of stillness, to reflect, to meditate, to keep your thoughts clear and your emotions healthy. When you are full of peace on the inside, you have peace to give on the outside. And as you continue to practice these principles, you will notice that your own capacity for compassion grows. You will no longer see aggressive people as enemies, but as opportunities to demonstrate strength and grace. You will no longer take every insult personally, because you will understand that their behavior says more about their pain than about your worth. And this is the ultimate freedom, to no longer be controlled by the actions of others, but to lead every encounter with wisdom. These 6 verbal tools are not just techniques, they are a way of life. They train you to be deliberate with your words, disciplined with your emotions, and discerning with your responses. They allow you to rise above the noise and guide ours. Theirs to a place of reflection and peace. And while you may not see the immediate result every time, you can be sure that your response is planting a seed that will bear fruit later. Even if the other person never says, "I'm sorry," you will know that you handled yourself with integrity, and that is its own reward. The more you live this way, the more powerful your presence becomes. People will notice the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you handle conflict. You will become a living example that it is possible to be strong without being harsh, to be firm without being cruel, to be bold without being loud. And when you reach this level of mastery, you will find that fewer and fewer people even dare to approach you with aggression because they sense that you are not a person who can be easily shaken. And this is where the transformation becomes visible, not just to you, but to everyone watching. The way you respond to aggression is not done in a corner. It is often seen by others, co-workers, family members, strangers, and every time you rise above hostility, you are teaching them what strength really looks like. People are silently observing you. They are watching to see whether you will become what the situation is trying to make you, or whether you will stand as an example of a higher standard. Your composure becomes a lesson, and sometimes the person who learns the most is the one who came against you. Consider what happens in the mind of the aggressor when they see you unmoved. At first, they may push harder, trying to get a reaction out of you. But when you refuse to give them what they are looking for, something shifts inside them. They begin to question why they are so agitated while you remain so calm. They begin to feel the contrast between their storm and your stillness. And that contrast is often the very thing that convicts them. Aggressive people are used to drawing others into their chaos, but when you refuse to step into it, you leave them standing alone with their own behavior. It is hard to keep fighting when He is no opponent on the other side. This is also why your tone matters. Words carry weight, but tone carries spirit. The same words can either heal or harm depending on how you say them. A soft tone in a hard moment has the power to pierce through anger like nothing else. It creates a safe space where the aggressor feels invited to lower their defenses. Sometimes they are not even aware of how loud or how sharp they have become until your gentleness shows them a mirror. Your calm tone becomes a contrast that exposes their own harshness. And this is how they slowly start to regret their approach. Not because you shamed them, but because you gave them a better model to follow. There will be moments when these principles will be tested in rapid succession. Someone may shout, accuse, and attempt to provoke you all at once. In those moments, your greatest ally is your breath. Taking a slow breath before you speak is not just a physical act, it is a spiritual reset. It gives you a second to gather yourself, to choose your words, to regain your authority over the moment. That single breath can mean the difference between escalation and resolution. It is in that breath that you remind yourself that you are not here to fight battles on the level they are being fought. You are here to lift the encounter to a higher place. There is also great wisdom in learning to read the emotional climate of the moment. Not every aggressive person is looking for a fight. Some are looking for help. Some are crying out for understanding in the only way they know how. If you can train yourself to listen beneath the words, you will hear the pain behind the anger. And when you hear the pain, your response changes. You no longer see an enemy. You see a wounded person. You may still set boundaries. You may still speak firmly, but you do so from a place of compassion, not retaliation. And that compassion is often the very thing that makes them rethink how they spoke to you.